everybody, it's Nick. I wanted to talk today about purpose over profit and what it really means in reality. This is the long one, I've actually got quite a lot to say on it, but as ever I'm going to share it in the hope that it does some good somewhere. So purpose over profit, putting humans first, humanising the workplace is so much bigger than the workplace. It's so much bigger than business. It's actually about something far more fundamental. It's about the very model upon which we've based our world, and by that I'm talking about capitalism. And capitalism isn't about being the best model, it's just about the least wrong model that we found thus far. And this isn't a political statement at all. This is just simply saying that actually we need to find a much better way to be. Now, whether we like it or not, you know, automation's coming, robots are coming, all of that, and there's actually some really great stuff that brings with it. And I don't think it's about fighting that or stopping that. What I think is going back to first principles. So if we put profit before people effectively become chattels. They become transactional, okay? And that means they do become replaceable, because what we're doing is we're looking at human beings as, you know, a resource, a number, and we're constantly looking to take cost out and make the profit. And the whole thing just turns into a vicious circle. And actually the really unique, amazing thing about human beings is our creativity, and it's our passion, and it's our nuances, and it's our uniqueness and our imperfections and our ability to see the curveballs. And that's what makes us unique, and that's something that you can't put into an algorithm. So what I think we really need to do is really put purpose before profit, and that means putting humans first. And in reality, that means fundamentally changing the way we work. So I'm not saying it's not about making profit. I think it's about how we make that profit and what we then do with that profit. And I think our mindset around that has to really change, and we need some brave people to step out there and do it. And I'm going to give some examples here of things that could change, things that could be done differently. So I'm going to take the big four that Scott Galloway talks about, and I'll start with Amazon. So Amazon is putting a serious amount of people out of work in the retail sector, as well as others actually. I mean, I'm talking, you know, we're in six figures, we're in hundreds of thousands of here. I don't know the exact figures, but I know it's a lot. And they're doing that because yes, you know, we talk about speed wins and the customer wants everything now, but they're doing it as well because they actually make a serious amount of profit. They're looking into drones and, I don't know, floating warehouses and goodness knows what. So Amazon, what if for every pound of profit you made, or for every person's job who you replaced by a robot, what if you did something really different? Rather than paying dividends to your shareholders or paying yourself large bonuses, money that, you know, you can't possibly spend, why don't you do something like use your technology and the power that you've got to get food and to get supplies and to get aid to areas where human beings can't, because it's suffering from climate change, or it's famine, or it's war-torn. Why don't you do something like that with the money and with your technology? Why don't you do something really purposeful with the meaning of what you're doing? Because, you know, quite frankly, there is enough work in this world for several generations just focusing on trying to right the wrongs, trying to sort out the cock-ups that we have created. So yeah, there's a lot of positive things we've created, but my God, we are screwing our world in the process, and there's an awful lot of work to be done to put that right. And Amazon, you could have a massive role to play in that, and that's what putting purpose before profit really means. If we take Apple for example, Apple, you're a luxury brand, you're not really a tech company, are you? I mean, look at the levels of profit that you make on each of your gadgets. Well, here's an idea. What if your beautiful luxury stores turn into community hubs to start to try and address the mental health and the loneliness epidemic that has actually been caused, quite frankly, a lot by the gadgets that we're all connected by, but actually disconnect us as human beings because we're not having that belonging and that interaction with each other. So why don't you use those beautiful, amazing stores to turn them into some kind of community hub, to perhaps provide some free education, online courses to help people get their lives back on track, or to move into something they want to. And here's something in terms of, you know, Apple really being creative and the market leaders or whatever. You know, why don't you just go and employ homeless people? Why don't you do something with the profit that you're making and with the infrastructure you've got? Bring the homeless people in, okay? Retrain them. Be really creative with your solutions. That's purpose over profit. Let's take Facebook. So Facebook, rather than being drawn into scandals about you know, political opinions and how you've impacted people's subconscious thought processes and so forth, why don't you forget about getting involved in who is the next overindulged person to run a society based on, you know, fear, protection and greed, and we can get into all of that. Why don't you do something like get back to first principles? And why don't you only concentrate on the really important stuff that's factually correct? So why don't you start using your position to start changing mindsets about what's really going on in the world, about what climate change really means from a factual basis, about what we can really do from a factual basis, about, you know, the wars, what's really going on in the refugees camp, what's going on. Very black and white from a factual basis, first principles that the media is trying to skew us or not telling us. Why don't you use your position in our minds to do that instead? And Google, you know, why don't you do something else? So we are surrounded by a lot of negativity, and that actually really dampens people down. It makes people think that they can't change because it's just so overwhelming and it's so big. So we do need to have the positive stories because actually we can all change. And it is, you know, there's having that mindset of saying, well, oh, you know, but there's no point doing that because so-and-so's not going to do it, or, you know, the United States come out of the climate change agreement or whatever. It's like actually doing nothing equals absolutely no action and no hope. Full stop. Yeah? There's no black and white, there's no nuance there. Doing something equals something. Now, we might not know what that is. I mean, we might not know, you know, the layers of what that change might be, but it will be something, and that gives us hope. So what I would say to Google is every time somebody goes onto Google to search or whatever it is they're doing, why don't you just put one positive fact that has happened somewhere in the world that day to help us rewire our brains so that we have the motivation and passion to drive through these changes. And for me, you know, purpose before profit and humanising the workplace and humans first is much, much broader than just the workplace. The workplace can be the catalyst to drive this, but our fundamental model needs to be addressed. And this is not a political statement. This is not about socialism. This is not about, you know, all of those different models which I have been accused of. This is about saying we need a new way to be, and that way hasn't been discovered yet, and it will not be discovered if we don't start making these changes. So let's just have some courage and step forward. There's some first principles here, there's some basic fundamentals, okay, that we can do around purpose over profit. So think about how you are making your profit. How does that impact both the people within the organisation and your customers and the impact on your planet? And then think about what you can really do with that profit. My God, your employee engagement and your profit margins will go through the roof. Absolutely through the roof, because you will touch the hearts of people you employ and your customers and people around the world, and you will start that ripple effect. You will start that ripple effect that changes the mindset, okay, and it will become bigger than the other mindset. And then automation and robots and all the rest of it will be fantastic because they can be used in the way that we need them to be used to help us. But we're the ones with the creativity, we're the ones with the passion, we are the ones that will come up with the ideas of how to put some of the stuff that we've cocked up to right. And gosh, I'm on my soapbox this morning, I realise, but I do feel really passionately about this, and this is why I think that our work lives and our personal lives are so interwoven. So we might not see what that model looks like, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't just step out there bravely and try and find it. I really hope that lands and is of help to somebody somewhere, and I hope everybody has a great day. Take care, bye.